Today I will show you a crime, action, thriller film from 2003, titled The Italian Job. Stella Bridger wakes up to a phone call from her father, John Bridger, a criminal mastermind known for cracking safes. They talk about his well-being, as Stella worries that he is up to something bad again. Her father confirms that this will be his last job and hangs up. He meets up with Charlie in Venice. Charlie confirms that John only has 4 minutes to crack the safe on their next heist. Left Ear meets with Rob while he reads about Leonardo da Vinci. He brags about how brilliant he is as an architect, engineer, scientist, and master of the art of women. Rob readily replies that he does not need a guidebook for that. They board a speedboat where Lyle sits, preparing for the upcoming job. Before proceeding with the plan, the team revises it, John and Charlie being the main players. They get into the building by boat and Lyle makes arrangements with Steve, who is 1 floor above them, with the measurements to place the liquid C4 by evaluating the plans of the building on his computer. Steve follows him precisely, as does Left Ear on their floor. On the 3rd floor is the target, the safe. They place the detonator on the liquid C4 and detonate it, making the safe fall through the floor. The security guards rush to the balcony and find Rob and Lyle driving off with a lookalike safe. A chase ensues by speedboat, while John and Charlie crack the real safe, which is lying in the riverbed. Police have been called and they mark that they have to finish in 7 minutes. Meanwhile, Rob is still trying to shake off his pursuers. They successfully crack the safe, which is loaded with gold bars. Rob manages to escape with the help of Steve's buddies, who pave the way for him. By the time the police arrive, they have already loaded all the gold onto their vehicle and disappeared without a trace. The plan is a complete success. They all meet up and toast with Moet in the mountainous regions of Austria. John gives praise to Charlie. It was a brilliant plan. They stole $35 million worth of gold without even holding a gun. When talking about how they are going to spend it, Rob is interested in nude girls and leather seats. Lyle is going to buy a stereo big enough to blow women's clothes off. Left Ear is going to buy a big house in the south of Spain. Steve is going to take a bit of each one of their dreams. John regrets his life decisions. Half of his life he spent in prison. He tells Charlie to find someone he loves and hold on to her forever. They all drive away in a van, enthusiastically telling each other stories about their latest heist. As they drive along on top of a dam, 2 trucks block their way from the front and the back. It's an ambush. Steve points a gun at Rob, as the men from the trucks begin to grab all the loot. John warns Steve that he can never escape. Steve agrees and shoots John repeatedly. Rob floors the gas pedal and rams the blocking truck, crashing and falling off the dam into the freezing water. The van sinks with the entire team inside. Steve continues to shoot with his rifle. One can never be too careful. Team manages to stay alive thanks to their diving gear. One body does surface up though, the lifeless John, a friend and mentor of Charlie. That's cue for Steve to wrap it up. Later, Charlie mourns his death. 1 year later, Stella cracks safes, just like her father, except she does it for the police. She's talented at it. Her driving though, wouldn't want to be in that car. At her workplace, Charlie is there. She is not happy to see him, as she believes he is the reason for her father's death. Charlie wants revenge on Steve. He has found his whereabouts. He is in LA. The only problem is that no one on Charlie's team can handle Steve's safe, which contains the stolen gold. He needs Stella for the job. She refuses and tells him she's moved on. After a night of thinking, she changes her mind. She calls Charlie to tell him she is in. With Stella's driving, they were the first to arrive at the meetup point. She is introduced to the team. Lyle, a computer genius. Left Ear, an expert in blasting and explosives. Rob, premier wheelman. Rob gives them all their fake IDs and the next meeting place is Los Angeles. They prepare by making blueprints of Steve's house, researching his daily routine, and measuring how long it takes to get from point A to point B. Lyle notes that the house has a Carson security system that no one has bypassed in the last 5 years. Not to mention an electric fence, stationary guard and patrol dogs on the property. They see Steve, confirming that the intel on him was correct. Rob tells them about the traffic, which is terrible. But he estimates the trip would only take 14 minutes if all the lights were green. Lyle will see what he can do. Charlie visits Stella while she is in a zone with ambient music on, and scares her. He wants to send her to Steve's mansion as a technician to get the blueprint of the interior. She agrees to do it. Before leaving, he invites her for a drink, to strengthen their friendship. She politely declines, but there is definitely a spark. Rob manages to seduce an employee of the Netcom company. After taking a nap together, he takes her uniform, and makes a mold of her key, handing it to Stella. In the middle of the night, Steve visits a shady jewelry store where he meets Yevhen to sell him gold. Steve is disappointed because Yevhen only buys 2 bricks. Left Ear unplugs one of the TV cables. Steve calls the netcom. They intercept the call so Stella can come as the requested technician to fix the problem. She has a camera attached to her shirt and drives in without any difficulties. Steve's first impression of Stella is extraordinary. He tries to impress her with the features of his house, not knowing that the woman in front of him is the daughter of the man he killed. Rob and Lyle comment on how he got the car and the stereo just like they dreamed. He really did take a bit of each one of their dreams. After Stella fixes Steve's cable, he flirts with her and asks her out on a date. Stella replies that she will think about it. Charlie convinces Stella to take Steve out on a date. Before he realizes he's been stood up, they will be off with the gold. The team meets in a hotel room and plans how to get the gold from the mansion and bring it to the train station. Charlie learns from Lyle the width of the hallways in Steve's mansion, which turns out to be perfect for a Mini Cooper. Stella smiles, her car and her skills with it will come in handy. Stella gets her car stuffed with weights that weigh about as much as the gold. She speeds down a path built to match the inside of Steve's mansion. She beats a timer, then teases Rob about her performance. Charlie explains that they will need more cars to handle more weight and are faster. Rob confirms that he knows a man for the job. Wrench comes by and equips the cars with extra suspension and more horsepower to handle the task at hand. Meanwhile, Left Ear tinkers with his gadgets and explosives and prepares to destroy the gates of Steve's mansion. Lyle is busy crunching the keyboard to find a way to hack LA's traffic management system. After succeeding, he shows it to Charlie and brags about how brilliant he is. They take their new rides for a test drive. Perfection. Steve returns to the same jewelry store. Yevhen accidentally blurts out that he just remembered where he saw those gold bricks. Steve takes out his gun and puts 3 bullets in Yevhen's chest. What Steve did not know was that he was being recorded by the security camera. Mashkov enters the jewelry store and discovers Yevhen's body. Charlie and Left Ear go to Skinny Pete's to buy some supplies. Charlie warns Left Ear not to stare at him. He does just the opposite. What a nickname for a man of his caliber. All of this throws Left Ear completely off his game. Still, they successfully managed to get what they came for. It turns out that Mashkov is part of the Ukrainian mafia and Yevhen was his cousin. He is introduced to a terrified person who confesses that he witnessed someone asking for gold bricks days before Yevhen's murder. The witness reveals that it was Skinny Pete. Mashkov leads his men to Skinny Pete's estate. He pulls out a blood-soaked axe in front of Skinny Pete and asks him why he asked for gold bricks. He then reveals to him that Charlie had asked him to gather some information about the gold. The team goes over the plan one more time. Steve drives off to his date with Stella. Just as they are about to begin the first phase of their plan, they notice that there's a party in Steve's neighborhood with people everywhere. Charlie calls off the plan because there will be too many witnesses, and asks Stella to go to Steve and hopefully set up another date for the heist. At the restaurant, Steve is enjoying Stella's company until she mentions that she trusts everyone but the devil in them. This throws Steve for a loop, as he only knows one man who has said this before. He realizes that she is John's daughter. Stella signals for help and the entire team surrounds Steve. Charlie comes up to him. Steve is now taunting him about how badly his plan will fail after losing the element of surprise. Charlie interrupts the conversation with a right punch to Steve's chin, taking him down. Later, Charlie comforts Stella about her father and says that he really loved her. The next day, Steve makes a move to transfer the gold bricks to Mexico. Everyone panics, except for Charlie, who thinks this is the perfect opportunity to commit a heist, stealing the gold bricks in transit. Thanks to Lyle hacking into LA traffic, they can get the armored car with the safe exactly where they want it. Charlie is called by Skinny Pete to inform him that Mashkov is after him. Charlie is fearless and even asks Skinny Pete for a favor. He calls Wrench to recruit him as a part of the team. Left Ear and Charlie are located under the Union Station subway system. They are strategically placing explosives. Meanwhile, Mashkov is on the phone, agreeing to a meeting that is most likely Skinny Pete requesting an audience on Charlie's behalf. The team gets ready to move. Charlie checks up on everyone, Stella is with him, Lyle is at the metro station, Rob is outside Steve's mansion with Left Ear, Wrench has his truck parked in position. An armored truck arrives, with a motorcycle guard following it. As if that was not enough trouble, now they have 3 of them. It's a shell game. Steve is in a helicopter. The 3 armored trucks are leaving the mansion. Charlie asks Lyle to use the traffic cameras and figure out which truck is closer to the ground and therefore heavier, which can only mean it's the one carrying the gold in the safe. Houston, we have our truck, number 128. The traffic situation in Los Angeles is thrown into disarray and confusion when Lyle skillfully manipulates the traffic routes and leads the truck exactly where he wants to. Steve, flying his helicopter, senses that Charlie is up to something. He asks the pilot to fly back and keep an eye on the truck with the gold. Lyle gives the go signal to the rest of the team and the 3 Mini Coopers to rush down the subway and race to where Left Ear and Charlie had planted the explosives. They narrowly outrun the train. The whole team is ready, with weapons and detonators in their hands. Wrench is giving a countdown. Just like the job in Italy, they blow up the ground and drop the truck to where the team is waiting. Wrench covers the hole. Steve is furious. Rob shoots a sleeping gas into the truck, taking out the guards. They open the armored truck and see the safe. Stella is stunned because this is not the safe she practiced cracking, it is much more complex. She tries to drill it open but says it will not work, she'll have to do it by touch, like her old man. Security guards on motorcycles rush to the subway to find the armored truck, but the way is blocked by the train. Steve tells them to find another way. The pressure and intensity of the moment gets to Stella and she becomes discouraged. Charlie takes her hand and encourages her. She succeeds in cracking the safe. Charlie asks Lyle for the math on it. 14 across, 4 high, 4 deep, which somehow adds up to 208 bricks, totaling $27 million in gold bricks according to his calculations. They load the gold bricks into their Mini Cooper, rejoicing about the $27 million as they drive. 2 guards on motorcycles catch up to them and start shooting at Rob's Mini. He manages to shake off one in the tunnel and the other at the exit. While they are trying to outrun the helicopter, Lyle is still assisting them with the traffic lights. Charlie splits from the group and Steve follows him. Even inside a building, he tries to stop his car with the helicopter's tail rotor, which he fails to do and disables the helicopter. Steve steals a car. They all meet up at a train yard, Charlie's car coming in last. Steve is still hot on his heels. As they leave, he approaches Wrench, unaware he's with the group, and offers him $5,000 if he gives him one of the cars. He opens the load and Charlie greets him. What Steve does not know is that Mashkov has been waiting for him all along to get revenge for killing Yevhen. Steve tries to make a deal with him, but it turns out he's already made a deal with Charlie. They end their heist with another toast. Surely this time they will realize their dreams.